Hello and welcome. My name is Zaffar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo Story. In a phone call with Donald Trump, Prime Minister Modi has clarified that US had no role in brokering the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, asserting that talks were held bilaterally via existing military channels at Pakistan's request. Now, Prime Minister Modi has also rejected claims of any discussion on a US India trade deal during the conflict. The 35-minute call initiated by Trump came just before Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir's visit to the White House, where he will be meeting President Trump on lunch. The Prime Minister Modi has briefed Trump on Operation Sindoor and warned that any future Pakistani provocation would face stronger retaliation. Uh, while Trump has claimed to have influenced the ceasefire, he has repeatedly made those claims. India has denied any third party mediation. Uh, Prime Minister Modi has clearly told him that there is no scope for any mediation, never was and never will be. Meanwhile, Asim Munir is in the US, and that's a very interesting development that's taken place. But we're told that President Trump has again spoken, and let's hear what he had to say before we cut across to our guests on the panel.
With the Pakistani Army Chief of Staff, what are you looking forward to achieving diplomatically?
Well, I stopped a war between Pakistan. I love Pakistan. I think Modi is a fantastic man. I spoke to him last night. We're going to make a trade deal with Modi of India. But I stopped the war between Pakistan and India. This man was extremely influential in stopping it from the Pakistan side, Modi from the India side, and others. And they were going at it, and they're both nuclear countries. I got it stopped. I don't think I had one story. Did I have one story written about it? I stopped the war between two major nations, major nuclear nations. I don't think I had a story written about it, but that's okay. You know why? The people know. The people know. Mr. Did anybody write that story about the war? Did anybody? Did you write it?
We wrote one.
We all wrote it.
Did you write it?
We, just one more on the
You
Iran
wrote it.
program. When does your patience run out with?
Adjustments that need to be made for Marine One departures and
No,
arrivals?
no, we put it so that Marine One is very far away. We did it in conjunction with the Air Force, with everybody, and everybody signed off on it. We now we have to have it far away. It's very far from Marine One's out there. It's out in the field, so you have to have a certain distance. We're about 3 times that distance. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right. We're joined today by Suhasini Haider, senior journalist. We're also joined by Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director, India Foundation. Suhasini, one has lost count of the times that Trump has said that he stopped war. Today he is reiterated that he stopped war. This after his conversation with Prime Minister Modi, in which Prime Minister Modi told him that there was no US role in brokering the ceasefire and it was between India and Pakistan. The request had come from Pakistan. What do you make out of this?
Well, I mean, as you're quite right, I think it's the 16th or 17th time he has repeated himself since May the 10th. It just seems as if he is unwilling to learn or to either produce any evidence or otherwise. Even the Pakistani side is technically, not pushing this line. At the beginning, they may have thanked America for their efforts, but it's only Mr. Trump that continuously goes on, and as a result, so do his officials in the US. I think India needs to take a much stronger line now on this. After Prime Minister Modi goes to the trouble of clarifying, of saying very clearly that what you are saying is untrue. I spoke to Mr. Vance. Trade has never come up in this conversation. We have discussed this directly. It seems quite clear that Mr. Trump is not in a mood to accept that. And as a result, India has its choices. And, I mean, the truth is that there is something not just tone deaf or insensitive about the United States administration when it allows this to be repeated continuously, even if it believes it's true. But then to do that on the day, and you heard him there saying, I love Pakistan. General Munir was very instrumental in this ceasefire, and I stopped the war. To do it on a day when General Munir is in Washington and he's about to have lunch with him, just does seem extremely insensitive to India's concerns.
Suhasini, India has firmly rejected any third-party mediation in the past. Why do you think Trump continues to publicly claim credit for ceasefire deals involving India and Pakistan? It could have happened once, twice, but he's repeatedly saying this. Is there some method to all of this?
Well, General Katoch may have an idea as well. My sense is that if he said it so many times, he probably actually believes it. Certainly would believe it by now, having said it 17 times. And exactly the same formulation. I stopped a war between India and Pakistan. Nuclear conflict averted. Trade was used as a leverage. At the beginning, he said, I'm willing to mediate on Kashmir as well. I can only imagine that he believes that America's efforts were successful. Now, it is quite possible that the US, that was inarguably in touch with both Delhi and Islamabad, had listened to both sides. There's no question also, and I think the Indian government has tried to explain this, but not convincingly enough, that Mr. Trump actually put it out on social media that there was a ceasefire before India had a chance, or the government had a chance, to inform Indians about that decision. And I think it took many in India by surprise to hear this from Mr. Trump. I think it shows our communication was a little slower than it should have been. And the truth is that since then, Mr. Trump has expanded on this theme. I think it's also true that at this time, when there are very few positive stories for the US peacemaker, US diplomacy story, when it comes, whether it's Israel.
And he's making this as an example, giving this as an example for other conflicts. He says that, look, I have resolved this conflict. Others should also, try and do something and resolve their conflicts. I am there. I did this. I can do that also. He's just trying to make it as an example for other conflicts.
And I think that when someone continues to falsely claim something that we are denying, then India has to consider the larger amplification. I'm not sure that the best answer has been to just be quiet and to consistently just go along with the line and hold India's line on it. I think it's necessary to understand that sometimes tough diplomacy is required.
Right. General Katoch, there is a difference. When Trump was making those statements, he had not spoken to Prime Minister Modi. But today he spoke to Prime Minister Modi. Right. And he makes this statement after meeting with Prime Minister Modi, and when there is a clarification that's come from the Indian side. In fact, there is a soundbite. We can hear that soundbite first before you answer that question. If my producer can play that soundbite.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को स्पष्ट रूप से कहा कि इस पूरे घटनाक्रम के दौरान कभी भी किसी भी स्तर पर भारत अमेरिका ट्रेड डील या अमेरिका द्वारा भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच मध्यस्थता जैसे विषयों पर बात नहीं हुई थी। सैन्य कार्रवाई रोकने की बात सीधे भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच दोनों सेनाओं की एग्जिस्टिंग चैनल्स के माध्यम से हुई थी और पाकिस्तान के ही आग्रह पर हुई थी। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने जोर देकर कहा कि भारत ने न तो कभी मध्यस्थता स्वीकार की थी, न करता है और न ही कभी करेगा। इस विषय पर भारत में पूर्ण रूप से राजनीतिक एकमत है। राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप ने प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा विस्तार में बताई गई बातों को समझा और आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की लड़ाई के प्रति समर्थन व्यक्त किया। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने यह भी कहा कि भारत अब आतंकवाद को प्रॉक्सी वॉर नहीं, युद्ध के रूप में ही देखता है और भारत का ऑपरेशन सिंदूर अभी भी जारी है।
Very clear message from India, Mr. Misri putting that out. General Katoch, what is the sense that do you make any sense of all of this? How should one, explain this?
Thank you, Zaffar. Zaffar, the question is, why do you want to explain President Trump? I don't think it is required. He has made a statement. In my view, he is looking at his home audience. And his entire focus is on that MAGA constituency of his, where there is a lot of shaking also going around, especially based on the Israel-Iran conflict now. So he is very focused on his own little world. And here, when he was speaking, when he gave that statement that, okay, I stopped this war, he's telling that reporter, he said, did you give me credit? Did you give me credit?
Yes.
Now, he repeated that line so many times. Now, I think there is some, he's got his own internal problems, but very frankly, I think now there are two narratives which are going around. One is what the Prime Minister has explicitly stated, the way the events took place. And the second is what President Trump claims. Let people choose whichever narrative they want. I'm very clear in my mind, because I'm privy to the sequence of events, that right from the time when the very first attack took place early in the morning on the 7th, that's the night 6th, 7th, we wanted to stop operations. We had achieved the aim and we had made it very clear we are stopping. But we also made it very clear that if Pakistan responds, then there will be consequences. So Pakistan responded, there were consequences. Again, we told them, we are stopping. If you continue, there will be consequences. And this continued up to the 10th. And finally, on the 10th, when things went downhill for Pakistan, when they found that their entire air cover has disappeared, practically disappeared, and they were in very deep trouble, that is the time when Pakistan actually ran to the Americans. And then when the Americans spoke to us, we told them, listen, it's a bilateral issue. If Pakistan wants it, they have to speak to us. And that is why Pakistan spoke. So the question is, we know the narrative. Pakistan knows the narrative. Let President Trump give out his own narrative. People are going to make up their own minds regardless of what we say. So there are constituencies, there are people who will think in a particular manner. And I think that's the way the world goes. I particularly am not too worried about what President Trump says. We have to look, the way I've looked at it is after India's interest. And I think what message really comes out, even what Prime Minister Modi spoke today to President Trump, is a new doctrine has emerged on how to deal with terror. And I think that is the bottom line. And this is a very robust doctrine, which I call the doctrine of compellence. We will compel Pakistan to behave. Nothing else has worked so far. Now compellence kicks in with a measure of kinetic and non-kinetic, and it has been declared. That means the world knows it now. We have told the Americans, we have told the European Union, we have told anybody who's prepared to listen. There will be consequences if Pakistan does this, and these consequences will be kinetic and non-kinetic. Now, I don't think anybody could be clear on that. So let people take it from there. And one more thing I want to say, I'm absolutely delighted that the Pakistani army chief is having lunch with President Trump today. I think he will be told what he has to hear. And he will be told, don't go ahead with your terror tactics, it won't work. But at the same time, the US is going to take leverage out of this. And you will find that when the US is going to attack the Iranian...
We'll talk about Asim Munir. But first, I wanted to ask Suhasini. Suhasini, you said that India should take a firm stand now because these repeated, claims by Trump. But isn't a stand being taken today when Prime Minister Modi denied the invitation of Trump? Wasn't it a snub of sorts?
I'm simply making the case that, of course, it is a snub. And for the Prime Minister of India to have to actually say this, and then for the Foreign Secretary to come out and, make that statement from Air Force, from Indian One, the Prime Minister's own plane, it was broadcast from a plane that was in the air, clearly shows how seriously India takes it. My point is that when a leader chooses to continuously do this and continuously poke holes in India's narrative, continuously, in fact, it's an act of rudeness towards India to consistently be saying this. I don't think we should behave as if it's only Mr. Trump, we don't need to take it seriously. I think we need to take it seriously. When Mr. Trudeau said things that India did not like, India took action against Canada. The fact is that we need to understand that if Mr. Trump is saying this, it's not just him who's saying it, it is the President of the United States who's saying it. Mr. Howard Lutnick, his Commerce Secretary, has repeated these claims in a sworn testimony in a court in the United States. We understand then that we are okay with this parallel reality playing out in a different part of the world, and hold to what we say, but we don't have to take any action against it. I do think that in the seriousness with which India takes the issue of terrorism, that it has talked about cross-border terrorism. General Katoch may believe that behind closed doors, Mr. Trump is going to give General Munir a talking to. But I genuinely believe that what Mr. Trump has done is damaging. It's damaging to India's interests, especially after India has taken such pains to put its point across diplomatically at every level of the government, then in those diplomatic missions that spent a total of 6 days in America. Those diplomatic missions that went out around the world to 32 countries, spent maybe a day, half a day in most countries. They spent 6 days in the United States. And even so, to have this kind of repeated false claim coming at us, I don't think it's something that we can just laugh off.
And always saying that nobody gives him any credit. But Suhasini, coming to Asim Munir, going to the White House for a lunch with President Trump, isn't it unprecedented that an army chief of a country goes for a lunch with the US president? Some see it in the context of the Israel-Iran conflict. Whatever be the reason, it is very significant.
Well, we'll have to really see the readout, and it should be just a few hours. But if you notice, Mr. Trump was responding in that statement he made to a very specific question about why he was having lunch with General Asim Munir and what he hoped to achieve from it. At the same time, in that same, and you may have that clip as well, Mr. Trump was asked about joining the Israeli war against Iran, and he said, we may do it, we may not do it. Mr. Trump is still leaving a lot of ambiguity in what he plans to do, and presumably why he is speaking to General Munir. As you pointed out, it's unprecedented. I think General Musharraf did get a lunch once, and General Asim Bajwa, when he went with former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan to Washington, D.C., also did get to meet the U.S. president. But this kind of meeting is certainly unprecedented. What did Mr. Trump say in that bite? In fact, if you hear the quote again, he's essentially saying that General Munir was very helpful, was an extremely influential person in bringing about this ceasefire. He said Prime Minister Modi was very influential on the Indian side. And General Munir was very influential on the Pakistani side. Now, there's been no conversation so far between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump reported in that period between May 7th to May 10th. So it does seem very strange what Mr. Trump is saying or what he seems to believe. But he says
and that is the reason that Prime Minister Modi told him today that there was no sort of US involvement in brokering that ceasefire, because there was no direct conversation between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump.
Exactly. And they say nowhere in the sequence of events. I just want to make one brief point, which is that Mr. Trump, there are certain strands that haven't been looked at as well. First, Mr. Trump consistently saying he stopped the war, he brokered the peace, he made the ceasefire happen. The second is on the day of that ceasefire announcement, a statement by Marco Rubio was very significant. He's the Secretary of State. He was involved in those conversations. He was with Mr. Vance while he was speaking to Prime Minister Modi and to the others. And he said that the Indian and Pakistani side will be meeting soon to discuss other issues at a neutral venue. We never found out what that referred to even. And the idea that, okay, Mr. Trump sounds a little, sorry to say it, but unhinged is one thing, but then to have serious officials as well say these kind of statements and that doesn't go challenged, that also is there on Twitter for anyone to see. 2 days later, Mr. Trump spoke, I think 3 or 4 days later, maybe, Mr. Trump spoke in Riyadh. And he said that if it were left to me, I would just bring the two leaders to Riyadh bring them here and tell them to sit down and sort out their differences over dinner.
Yes, over to you. Yes.
Again, we see Mr. Trump clearly trying to somehow bring the leadership together. I don't know anything more than you do on this, but just judging by the timings of the conversations, the fact that Mr. Misri said that Mr. Trump invited Mr. Modi to come to Washington on his way out of Calgary, out of Canada, which Mr. Modi declined. He has to go on to Zagreb, to Croatia for a bilateral visit. But the fact that Mr. Trump invited Mr. Modi to Washington on the very day he's having lunch with Mr. Modi, who knows? He thought for another time that he would try to make the point that he was bringing the two sides together. Whatever it is, this is a misadventure. This is a misadventure by Mr. Trump and his administration. It's not going to go very far, given that New Delhi has made it clear now at every level that they are not going to go ahead with this narrative. The question is, how are they going to stop the American side from putting that out?
And how is it even possible that Prime Minister Modi will go on the same day when the Pakistani army chief is in the town and having a lunch with President Trump? I don't know what's going on in Trump's mind. But
Trump also believed that Mr. Zelensky and Mr. Putin would meet in Istanbul. So
yeah, right. General Dhruv Katoch, coming to this Iran, conflict, Israel attacking Iran. Now, we're getting mixed signals from Pakistan. One of the Pakistani ministers stood up and he said that next it would be Pakistan. All of us are in the line and we should give solidarity to Iran. Then there was a video clip that in the Iranian parliament, they sort of thanked Pakistan for all of this. And on the other hand, Pakistani army chief going to America, which is the closest ally of Israel, and he's being invited for a lunch by President Trump. How do you analyze these things?
I've always thought that Pakistan, as far as Pakistan is concerned, it doesn't really matter to India or to the United States. But the thing is, they are geographically so located that they become very useful to the Americans. And they've always been very useful to the Americans. Any dirty work which the Americans want to carry out, well, the Pakistanis are there. They're ready to do it. There is always a price. The generals extract their price. It could be $100 million or whatever. And if you look at it today, practically every single Pakistani senior military officer, especially their former chiefs, they've got property in the United States. Most of them have got dual citizenship. Their wives have got a citizenship of some other country, so that if something goes wrong, they simply vamoose and they settle down there. That is the leverage which the Americans hold over these people. Their families are settled and they have citizenship in the United States or in some part of Europe. Every one of them. So they have the leverage. And they find it very useful. Now, at this particular point of time, if they need Pakistan to do any action via Pakistan onto Iran, it becomes very convenient. And in fact, that may very well be happening, that they may use that as a base to take out the what do you call it, the nuclear facilities of Iran with the heavy bombers. Now, what is going to, there are many things which are going on which we really don't know. At this point of time, I really don't know if what we bombed in Pakistan, as far as one of the airfields was concerned, was that a nuclear site or not? If it was a nuclear site, was it an American nuclear site? There are so many question marks. Nobody knows the answers. But as far as I'm concerned, Pakistan is a convenient pawn. They will be taken, used, and discarded. The generals will always win. It doesn't really matter. That chap has got his money. He's got his house, his bangla, gadi, car, whatever the Bollywood likes to call it. They've got it all. But the rest of Pakistan, no, I'm afraid not. The politicians will not control the issue. It is the army chief. And I think Trump has been called...
Which is very obvious. That's why Trump said that he's a very influential man. He invited the army chief rather than the Prime Minister of Pakistan. It's very obvious. But Suhasini, could Trump's meeting with Asim Munir embolden the Pakistani military further at a time when India is signaling zero tolerance towards cross-border terrorism?
Well, I think this, this tangle of the US, India, Pakistan is ongoing. And it has been there since independence, since the US and Pakistan were allies, part of CENTO together. The fact is that the US, as General Katoch quite rightly said, has used Pakistan at different times, and Pakistan has allowed itself to be used. I think we forget that in that period, I think from 2005 to 2010, Pakistan allowed the US to take off its planes to take off from Pakistani airfields and bomb Pakistani territory when they were doing the global war against terrorism. So if a country is willing to do that, we have to now wait and see what happens when it comes to General Munir and President Trump. There's no question that as a neighbor of Iran's, Pakistan will be very important if it decides to fall in line with the US's wishes. It could be requests for refueling, it could be requests for more logistics or intelligence sharing as a neighbor. But the fact that they are asserting this partnership, and there is a lead up to it. If you look in the last few days, we have seen consistent testimonies being given by the US Assistant Secretary for Central and South Asia designate as Paul Kapoor. Then we saw the CENTCOM chief, I think General Kirilla, also give a testimony saying how helpful Pakistan was.
Phenomenal. They said that is the phenomenal, player in the fight against terrorism.
Correct. So the question of where is this leading? Now, is there an India component to it? The US has traditionally tried to sidestep the idea that India has an opinion about its relationship with Pakistan. The reason why India has that relationship is not to interfere in the US-Pakistan relationship, but because, as you pointed out, every time the US and Pakistan seem to have a relationship, Pakistan uses that to up its activities of cross-border terrorism. The entire story of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan being trained with the US's congressional budgeting and all of that. And then the very same forces being diverted into Kashmir. We have, again, a lot of evidence that shows that, again, when Pakistan and the US joined hands for the global war on terror in 2001, that Pakistan's cross-border terrorism also increased. And then we saw the Mumbai terror attacks. So India has tried to, work around this. And I think certainly after the Mumbai attacks, the government worked very closely with the US in order to try and have international pressure brought on Pakistan. And then in the last decade or so, we also saw India's actions after the Uri attack and after Pulwama as well, where the US essentially helped India in its diplomatic efforts. We see a shift here. There is no question that there is a shift. President Trump consistently gives a narrative of equivalence between India and Pakistan. In these
rehyphenating the two, that
rehyphenating in a sense, because it's only him who's saying it. It's not as if India and Pakistan have got hyphenated. But please notice that in these 16 or 17 statements Mr. Trump has made, he has not once mentioned terrorism. Ever since the Pahalgam attack, just after the Pahalgam attack, he called Prime Minister Modi and, of course, expresses condolences, condemnation of terrorism. We heard many US statements basically supportive of India. But in these statements where Mr. Trump has claimed credit for mediation, he does not mention terrorism. He does not mention what was the casus belli for Operation Sindoor. He just says they were just at it, and they were going
fighting for 1,000 years, 1,000 years for 1,500 years.
Liken them to children, said, you need to pull them apart, and they're landing punches on each other. All of this very disrespectful way of speaking. It may be fine. It may be just Trump being Trump. I think at some point in India, we need to stop saying, if it's Mr. Trump being Trump, it is the US president who's saying all these things.
And he did not mention about terrorism. He mentioned a lot about Kashmir in his posts and all that specifically. And he said that they're fighting for 1,000 years. Then he said, no, 1,500 years. He repeated that many times. But General Katoch, what are the lessons that for India to learn here? Because it's a very delicate situation that's developing globally. There have to be some lessons for India because the Operation Sindoor is continuing. There is a pause. Terrorism has not ended. It's still time when infiltration takes place. The snow has not fallen. The passes have not closed. What should India do?
Now, I've always maintained that, India has just got to do two things. One, keep on with your economy, and at the same time, build your military strength. You see, that is all that is required. Ultimately, both these things are ongoing, especially as far as the military is concerned, manufacturing your own weapons and selling them abroad. That was required. I had been advocating that for so many years, and people just, the governments just didn't get it. I'm glad that 10 years back it started, 10 or 12 years back it started, right? Otherwise, it wasn't there. And so many times, even while I was in service, I would recommend that. And, people said, no, we are Gandhi's country. So Gandhi's country, it's really meaningless when we are looking at world diplomacy. People respect strength. The United States is respected today despite Trump because they are powerful. China is respected because they are powerful. If you don't have the power, nobody's going to listen to you. So you get that power, you use it in the right manner, most certainly. But if you don't have economic muscle and if you don't have military might, nobody is going to listen to you. That moral high standing and all that doesn't work. So this is my lesson. Number two, please, don't compromise. Now, once we have got a new doctrine, if Pakistan does another act of terror, then I think, there should be such severe reprisals on them that they will think 10 times before they do it. And the non-kinetic measures which have been put into place, I think that is going to be the real leverage. So we should be able to, using both this combination of kinetic and non-kinetic measures, we should be able to leverage our position to compel Pakistan to behave. My problem is, what is going to happen if the same problem starts now from Bangladesh? You see, and that is quite possible. What happens if those drones start coming from the other end, those infiltrators start coming from the other end? I think we need to have a policy there also. For this side, I think it is okay. The world understands our position. Americans, by and large, I've met quite a few of these fellows. By and large, they understand your position. They know what is happening. So to that extent, I'm not really perturbed about what Mr. Trump says. That's all right. I mean, okay, it's not all right, but that's the way he is. I can't stop him. But I can make a statement as just a retired army officer. I can say it was because I put in a tweet that Trump got elected as the president. You see, that's my power. I will do that. Let's make fun of the whole thing. He got elected because I tweeted and I told the American people, come on, make him. And they listened. Now,
In the end, what is clear is that India is faced with multiple challenges, and we'll have to see what happens in that meeting between Asim Munir and President Trump. But thanks so much, Suhasini, General Katoch, for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts. Thanks to our viewers for watching the Mojo Story.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.